तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, the next verse, which is 24, so it says, Adhyatma Vidya Manyante Mama Buddhayaha Param Bhavamajanantaha Mamavyayamanutamam. So this is something which is very interesting, because in the previous verse he was talking about, see, what is very nice is he first explains exactly what the nature of Ishvara is, and then he explains who a Gnani is, where not only the nature of Ishvara is known, but one's identity, total identity with Ishvara is also known. Then he goes back and he says that there are a lot of other people who also relate to me in their own ways, and it's fine, right? So whoever continues to, so nobody feels, oh my God, And he says, I'll bless them in whatever. If they pray to me in form of Lakshmi, then I will bless them. Then if they pray to me as Saraswati, then I'll bless them. So whatever it is that they are looking for, I will bless them with that, and I don't have any agenda. See, the Ishvara, when you make the one who has an intention, then what happens? Then it becomes what? That the whole... Then it becomes like there is somebody out there who has the intention of making me what he or she wants me to be, right? So this is where Swamiji used to always say that people's non-acceptance of Ishvara, people have so much resistance to understanding what the real nature of Ishvara is, and the problem comes from problem with authority. The father figure. If you have problem with father figure, who is what? Authority, who is in control, and then you have to somehow say what he says. Right? So now, if you construe Ishvara to be the one with intention and who wants you to be like this, then again there is a resistance. You will have resistance because you hated being told what to do, you hated being controlled, and now what father, at least you can dodge a little bit, right? Ishvara is all pervasive and it has an intention, then what, you're caught. So this is why a lot of people have problem with even the idea of Ishvara. Because Ishvara is often what projected as this authority who has intention and who tells you what to do, and if you don't do, then he'll judge you into some kind of a punishment which is eternal heaven. It creates, the whole thing is fear-based. And people just, any thinking person will totally reject that idea. And it's too good that they reject. Good that they don't buy into that idea of Ishvara. Those are actually thinking people. Right? So this is where the whole thing is that Ishvara has to be seen as not the one with an intention and a judgment. And this is exactly all these verses say, I have no problem. In whatever you want to do, not only I let you do, but I'll help you. Right? And if you, by your own volition, are looking for small things, then okay, I don't have any problem. Go ahead. But if you, through your own buddhi, can recognize, why should I go for all these small things when the thing is available to me as a human being? Then Ishvara will also help you in that. Right? So So this is what he has been saying. Now, here he again elaborates a little bit on this idea. Here he says, Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam. Okay? So that means I am Avyaktam in the sense that I am formless, and people, because of their inability, as Rashna was saying, it's very difficult to understand Vedanta Shastra totally, spend time. It's not something you can say, okay, now give me one talk and I'll figure out the whole thing. Or I come for one retreat and everything will be 100% clear. It's not possible also. Right? So therefore it requires investment of time, but most of the people are lazy. So what they settle for a primitive idea of Ishvara, and that is what there is some form which is Ishvara, and then I'm devoted to that form. So here he says, even though I'm formless, what people who don't want to think too much, what they do, they attribute one form to me and then they relate to me. Okay? So they, the minute you give Ishvara form and think that this is Ishvara, then you exclude everything else. You make Ishvara into what? One of the objects in the universe. It is this form and it's not every other form. It is this entity and not any other entity. If it's sitting in the heaven, it's only in heaven and not here. So you make it limited in terms of space, limited in terms of time, because every place is within time and space, and limited in terms of an object, because if it is one object, it's not any other object. So you just make him into some kind of a uncle with little bit more power with more power, who can control you more. So imagine the resistance that people are going to have. You couldn't stand your little controlling father, now you have to confront with an authority which is with full control and is controlling you. So therefore, people have resistance and it's fine. But here what he says, luckily this is not the nature of Ishvara. So here he says, Param Bhavam Ajananta. Why is it that they have this concept of Ishvara? Because they choose not to inquire more. It's not that Ishvara is hiding. You are given your free will and you are given free hand to do what you want with your body and your mind. As far as you want to go in your pursuit, Ishvara will help you there. If you want not to be in that pursuit at all, then also it's okay, fine. If you're a good human being, there are so many human beings who may be an atheist, but a good human being. Is Ishvara going to be judgmental towards them and say, you are not a believer, so therefore you go to eternal hell? They will get result for what? Every good act that they do. Even if they call themselves atheist, but if they are dharmic, they don't look upon Ishvara as dharma, but they just want to be dharmic people. They will be equally given, equal punya as anybody else. Because why? This is an action, it will produce a result. So this is where people say that all these scriptures are not universal. Universal means what? There is no group. This group is privileged and every other group is condemned. It's universal. If a person sitting in Africa does an act of kindness, he is given the same reward as what, and could have no religion, have no understanding of Ishvara. One person sitting here with an understanding of Ishvara does that act. Same. This is what we call non-judgmental. Right? It is the act and the intention. Sometimes the intentions make your acts more evolved. In that case, the result is more, of course. You know, But this is, he says, you choose not to know me more than what, this is where you settle and you relate, and that's fine. Okay? Now, one thing that we need to understand here is, I just wanted to bring here this formless Ishvara. Also, there are some people who say Ishvara is formless and still give Ishvara the location. Ishvara is about formless, but it is in heaven. How can something which is formless be sitting somewhere? So there are many ideas where people have not thought about enough about what they are saying. And they criticize a lot, this whole Vedic tradition of what many gods, and they said, yeah, we are what worshippers? Idol worshippers. We are pagan. We are pagan worshippers. Yeah. We are pagan worshippers. Because we worship idols. So what we have to understand is, hey, we don't worship stone, we worship what? Ishvara. But Ishvara, since it is any form, I can invoke Ishvara in any form. So this is why you can either go to the temple and, relate, that form is a representation of Ishvara. If Surya has time, he can show you how that Dakshina Murti that you see in the temple, in that Murti, in that sculpture is the depiction of the entire vision of Vedanta. Through that, it shows what Ishvara is. He will show you. It's very beautiful.
Like all 5 elements are
exactly. All 5 elements are there. Then sun and the moon is there. Then what he is teaching, what that all that is here is one. Entire universe is only me, and you and me are the same. So here you think that you are one person in the universe. You are connected to what? Your physical, subtle and causal body. What is the teaching? You are one with what? Ishvara. This you constantly look. This part of the hand is useful because of the presence of this. Everything, the hand is able to grasp things and all because of this. But here what? You forget about this and you only occupy yourself with this. But when you come to know your identity, then what? There is fullness.
Chinmudra.
This is called Chinmudra.
And evolutionarily also, Homo sapiens are the first to have opposable thumb.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely. So this is the teaching. Where is the teaching coming from? Dakshinamurti, if you look, there is Veda. There is a book. Pramana. So if you choose to know that Pramana is available to you, then there are some, among this whole universe, there are some human beings who are what? Teacher. They are students. They want to know from Ishvara what is the truth of the whole thing. And Ishvara Dakshinamurti as the Lord is teaching them. So any teacher that is there, and if the teacher knows, is what? Same, because once the ignorance goes, what? Ishvara can use you as a voice. This is why it's so pleasing to hear this knowledge, because it is, if a wise person who knows the reality is talking, whether you totally understand or not, it is enjoyable. I have never seen any people being bored. It is engaging, it is pleasing. It gives you that very deep, at a very deep level, some satisfaction. Very deep, it's not superficial. There is no, and any time, any mind, which is even otherwise. I remember, right, some professors in my university, they spoke with clarity. And I used to totally love their classes. Especially at Columbia, some professors were brilliant. And when you have a brilliant professor, you just feel so inspired. And all the intricacies that the person is able to show you that you didn't know. And how far your mind can go in that whole logic. It's brilliant. Any clarity is just so pleasing. And this is why any person who knows this reality and in speaking, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. This is what we call Vidyananda. Vidyananda means it's everything, that happiness that we are talking about, we think it is in the object, but in that clarity there can be so much happiness. But it's a different kind. It's a silent one. Right? So this is where the whole teaching comes from Ishvara, and if the person has understood, then also when it comes unadulterated, then the person is that Ishvara is using that person as an instrument to make you and everybody else see what is. And in order to know this, and there are many obstacles. So if you look at Dakshinamurti, there is the Asura there.
Apasmara.
Apasmara. Apasmara there, which is what represents all the possible obstacles that can come in your way of understanding.
He has a little knife like this.
And what is the Lord doing? He's just gently touching to keep it under control. It's not destroying or anything, just touching under his feet, under his control. So that these obstacles don't overtake. Little obstacles are needed to make you grow. So you can't totally eliminate obstacles either. But they are kept under check. So this is where, then the whole knowledge becomes complete. The whole of Dakshinamurti is representing the entire vision, the form. So if anybody, people don't understand, they say, yeah, it's what stone they are worshipping, and they laugh. And we laugh along. This is our problem. We are so much in awe of everything has to be approved by Western. That is a mindset. If they say it's fine, then it's fine. It has to be stamped. In that, there is an inherent inferiority. So therefore, it's interesting, we spoke about Karma Yoga in one class, and then we saw Surya had a tape of one professor at Columbia who was also giving a talk on Karma Yoga, and he happened to be a student of our teacher. And but he didn't say it was Bhagavad Gita. He was just talking as though he knew it all. So when people look at this professor at Columbia, then what? Oh wow, this is amazing. And we have been saying the same thing, and then it is what?
Paganism.
Huh?
Paganism.
Exactly. This is a mindset.
But they couldn't have understood anything.
Sorry?
The colonizers, whatever, the British, whatever.
Yeah,
they didn't understand it. They just
they
saw
didn't
everything.
understand exactly from their own eyes.
Snake,
And
this, that, they didn't
absolutely, and they thought it was all weird, and it was all kind of, what are they doing? They are just worshipping stone. So these are all, and we buy that. So why do we worship the stone? And then, in fact, so much of, because the strategy was, you make the intelligent people uh, uh, believe that this is all meaningless. Then when the intelligent people begin to negate that, then what happens?
Others start believing.
Others start believing it. Strategy. And it percolates. So this is where the whole Vedic vision is what, that we are not in this any form. You can evoke Ishvara, but you can create a form which represents the entire idea of Ishvara. So a few months ago, Rashna was asking me, so what is this Shivalinga? And the Western description of Shivalinga is like ridiculous. Yeah? In fact, Shivalinga is, if you want to represent Ishvara, then you can, the idea is that it includes all forms, but at the same time it is formless. This is the representation of Shivalinga. And what they make it out to be is some mad thing. From their part, they only look at the world from what they understand. These are all representations which are very meaningful representations. They are not just random representations. And Vishnu is what? Blue. Why blue? You want to represent what? Like sky, which is all pervasive. There is sky is all pervasive, then you want to represent Ishvara is not one person, that is all pervasive. Blue.
This is Krishna. Oh, you're talking about
Vishnu. Krishna is one of the avatars of Vishnu. And what? From there comes the entire Srishti, Brahmaji. And while the whole thing is happening, what? It's effortless. Vishnu is not busy trying to manage the Srishti. What is Neeta doing now? Let me keep track of her. And the minute she's going to do something wrong, I'm going to punish her. No.
He'll be busy a lot.
Exactly. Keeping track of everyone. Right? So all effortlessly. Reclining. All representations of what people understand, of what Ishvara is. So this is where this whole Vedic vision of Ishvara takes you to this real understanding of what Ishvara is. Until then, you have what? Partial understanding. This partial understanding is fine, but what the real... So it's not enough to say, I believe in God. It's a very different thing. This is why in the beginning I told you that the nature of Ishvara has to be understood by an atheist, by an agnostic and a believer. All three need to understand what is Ishvara. Then here he says, the next verse, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritaha mudho yam nabhijanati loko ma vajamam vyayam. So here he says, I am not something which is na aham prakasha sarvasya. For everyone I am not to be seen. Why? Because I am covered by what? My own Maya. So as I told you, that in that Maya, inbuilt, where there is a Vikshepa which is manifesting everything, and then there is cover. So now, so cover brings what? Ignorance, right? Of what is. So this is where the question is, when did this ignorance begin? Right? Can you give a time when the ignorance began? You can't. Why? Because if you give a time and you say, this is when ignorance began, so before ignorance, what was there began? What was there? Knowledge. The opposite of ignorance, which is knowledge. If there was knowledge, then how can ignorance be there? So this is what Swamiji was saying. When you take the first, then it becomes illogical. And the second point, the second problem is, even if I remove my ignorance today again, then again it can come back. The whole thing will collapse. So this is where, and when we say, along with Maya there is a cover, means what? When did Maya begin? It's beginningless. So this is where, when we say, what does beginningless mean? Okay? It means that, as I told you, that there is right now in the universe what? Manifest and unmanifest. Manifest, unmanifest. Manifest, unmanifest. And before that whole manifest universe came, what was that? Ishvara as a potential, which was unmanifest. The entire universe was unmanifest, which is what? Time was unmanifest, space was unmanifest, objects were unmanifest, totally unmanifest. But the intelligence was there. Right? Now, before unmanifest, is this the only one time that the universe has manifested? No. This is when we say cyclical nature of the universe. So when there is cyclical nature of the universe, means there are many cycles of manifestation, unmanifestation, manifestation, unmanifestation. And it is what? Anadi. Anadi means beginningless. You can't give a point, a beginning. So when people are talking about Big Bang, what are they talking about? Beginning of what? This cycle of creation. One, beginning of one. But before that, there have been multiple. So this is what Anadi means, without any beginning. You can't, it's not a linear universe. Linear universe means what? This is where it started, this is point, and then now what? It is just going. And then another point. If this was the nature of the universe, which is what? The first point where it began, what would happen? You should be able to find what? Beginning of everything, not only ignorance, but everything. And this is where Kashi said, what? You find what came first, chicken or egg? Father or son? Seed or the tree? Can't find it. Beginningless. In fact, they make us think that we are talking nonsense. In fact, there is no proof for what? Linear.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do we explain population explosion in the light of like where are all these beings coming from? And they keep coming and keep coming.
Yeah.
More and
See
more.
this, when we are talking about population explosion, you are talking about human population, right? So now, as the very model says, that jivas are who? Even the bacteria is a jiva. Then what? Amoeba is a jiva. Then all these animals are jivas. Chickens are jiva. Everybody is a jiva. Right? So that means, if at any given point in time, what? More human jivas come in form of human beings, among all these other 84,000 species, you will experience what? Increase in human population. You see what I mean? But there are countless jivas even now in this universe. It's just this form that they come into this form. And even that population explosion, it comes, and then there are some problems that we all have to face. That is because of not only individual prarabdha, but as Swamiji was saying, samashti prarabdha. Samashti prarabdha means, very interesting thing, that we all who are living in the world right now have to go through what? Similar problem. For example, one of the very clear example is what? The deterioration of the environment. So all of us have problems with what? Global warming, rise in sea level, which what then causes things like what? Tsunamis and stuff like that. Then depletion of ozone layer. These are what all of us have to face. This is what we call samashti karma.
And this was created by our collective action.
Exactly, our collective action. So now, but within that, what each one faces the repercussions of these global problems differently. Within, even though we all go through it, each one is in a unique position. I'll give you an example. When I was posted in Fiji Islands, right, at the UN meeting, all these Pacific Island countries, their biggest agenda was what? Rise in sea levels. Why? Because the whole island will become extinct. It will just submerge. So that means, even though all of us equally have this problem, they face what?
A bigger problem.
A bigger problem. So that means within the samashti prarabdha, everybody also still has vyashti prarabdha.
Vyashti.
Vyashti means your individual prarabdha. So somebody who's born there has what? A lot more stake at that than for us. Right? So all of us who live in Bombay, now I think what pollution rank it is?
It's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
Delhi is very bad.
Delhi is bad. Right? So let's say in Delhi, then or even in Beijing. I have been to Beijing, and it's the whole sky. You don't see the blue at all. It's all black. Smog. It's a beautiful city, but it is just smog, black, pollution. So that means there is what? Samashti prarabdha. And all people living in Beijing, they have to face. But within that, there is vyashti, which is each one who has a unique prarabdha. So somebody who is working in a factory is exposed to pollution what? More. But somebody who is driving in a Mercedes Benz is what? Less. So that means everybody has to experience, but in what? Different degrees. So you can imagine the computer that is required to program the whole thing. To make every second, and then people will make choices, and based on that, everything has to change at every point in time. So this is where the whole the thing is that Ishvara is in form of what? All these possibilities. Samashti prarabdha. So Samashti prarabdha also is what? We have to experience what? Population explosion. But within that population explosion, what the person who has only 2 kids and is very comfortable with income, what exactly are they facing? What is the effect of population explosion they are facing? But somebody who has to live in a crowded chawl.
Even the Europeans now have to face population explosion, immigration, violence. All this is linked. So and then immigration of Syrians there in Europe and so on, and all the consequences. So you think that they are not exposed, but they will be more and more exposed. right?
So it's a different source of population explosion where it's not because people are producing more, but in fact they are producing less and all these immigrants are, and then that's a cause of concern. So that means each society has its own set of challenges which are samashti problems. And within that, what? Vyashti problems.
Some
And
people
unique.
are responsible. Sometimes it's not everyone who's responsible for it. Like the gas leak in,
Yes,
where-
Enron.
all
That
that.
was
Yes,
project.
only those few people. So because of that, everyone has to suffer.
So that means the very fact that they are placed there,
To give that.
you see,
Okay,
the
okay.
thing is that they also have to experience that karma. It has to be done that result. This is why we say we don't only experience the result of actions that we have done in the recent past. This is why when you look at the recent past, you feel those people are totally innocent and they are suffering for no reason. But that's why you need Ishvara. Because your scale of causes what many more fold. In that case, nobody is an innocent victim. But there are times where people abuse their free will. Right? So that, imagine, there was this case in Bombay where there is this woman who went to she was some lawyer. She went to one bar and had a couple of drinks, and then she went to another bar and had a few more drinks, and then she was driving her Audi.
Other side of the road.
And then she was on the Eastern Express Highway and she was on the other side of the highway. That means if the traffic is coming this way, she is driving there. Then what happened? There was this taxi. In that there were some 4 or 5 people and they all died. This is not, it could be, I don't know whether it is prarabdha, but it also could be, what I want you to know is, it also could be what? Use of free will. Everything is not just prarabdha. The person has abused free will and caused this, then there will be consequences. Because after having all these, first of all, she could have known that I am driving, so I have, refrained from that. And if she wanted to, she could have called a taxi or a driver. So that means these are all free will abuses also. It's not just prarabdha.
Even if it's prarabdha, it will now create
Further.
back
True.
karma, right?
True. For the person who,
Yeah.
then, because it's an abuse of free will, no?
And for the people who die, there might be slight covering.
So for the people who die, what they say is that you come with a prarabdha karma. Now imagine somebody uses the free will. Even all these terrorist attack and all, what they come and they bomb. So now what has happened? That you have still prarabdha karma to exhaust. But your prarabdha karma can only be exhausted through what?
Living.
Through living with your body and mind, because without it you can't go through experiences. So now your body is not capable of going through those experiences, your mind is not capable of going through those experiences. So then what happens? The remaining prarabdha karma is joined with sanchita, the main account, and it will come back again some other time.
It doesn't mean that their death happened because of prarabdha,
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
like their own prarabdha. It does not.
No, and this is why actually it's very interesting. It's not only abuse of somebody else's free will, it could also be abuse of your own free will. Imagine you have prarabdha, this body came with a prarabdha to live for 80 years, for example, right? You became an alcoholic. And every day you drank and you damaged your liver. Now then that damaged liver had started affecting the rest of the body. So through your own abuse of your own body, what are you doing? You are not letting the body live for its normal length of life.
Choices, basically.
The choices that you make. And that means again you die, the body becomes incapable of going through prarabdha, then it drops. That means many times people die before their prarabdha karma is over. And this is why all the rituals of our death, when somebody dies, all the rituals incorporate all of that. That if your prarabdha is remaining, then what you want to be here, because your time is not yet over totally. But you now have no body and no mind. So what all these rituals are for what? To help the person to go in your journey. Because the time is over now. So these are all everything. And even if you go at the right time, still it is difficult to just, because you are connected to all these people and it's difficult to just move on. So the rituals are meant for facilitating on the journey of the jiva. This is why it's not just in the books, the whole culture, there is a whole Vedic culture, and behind this culture is this vision, whether you recognize or not. And that's why people call India what? A spiritual country. They come in search of some spiritual answers from all over the world. We only see traffic, pollution, and we are constantly complaining. And we miss this whole big beauty of this country, where there is a living culture which has what? Vision of oneness. Water country, water culture. And instead of really making more and more people benefit from it, what? We get into all these, oh yeah, we should not, because otherwise we are a secular country, as though you are very intelligent. We, through our own choices, deny ourselves this knowledge. So, this is what he says, that this this avarana is anadi. It is anadi means it's beginningless, along with, because even Ishvara, when did Ishvara begin?
That will assume no Ishvara.
Exactly. So before Ishvara began, there was no Ishvara. All this began, what? It will all logically fall apart. So then if Ishvara was not there, then it comes, then it again within time and space. You see so many problems. Once you go wrong one way, everything will fall apart. This is the beauty of Vedanta. Once you begin to understand, you say, oh my God, it is so, everything fits like...
Flawless.
Yeah, huh?
It's flawless.
It's flawless, exactly. Totally flawless. At no point you get caught with an illogical thing. Right? So this is where that itself, Ishvara is Anadi, and Ishvara's capacity to manifest as the universe is Anadi, and also what? Within that manifestation, the cover is also Anadi. Because Maya has two parts, Avarana and Vikshepa. But if it is Anadi, and if it is part of it is one aspect of Ishvara, then what? Are you stuck in your ignorance forever? That Avarana, what can be removed. So this is why Swamiji was saying, it is Sa Anta, Antena Sahavartate. It is Anadi, but not Ananta. It's not what? It will continue forever. It will continue until the time that you lift your arm. The capacity to lift is also given.
Once your knowledge is there, there's no ignorance ever.
Then there is no ignorance ever. Exactly. You remove it forever. Exactly. That's why there is no more coming back for the jiva. So, here he says, Mudho yam napi janati loko mam ajam pampyayam. But the people, in fact, until they make this effort to remove this anadi, ignorance which is existing from beginningless ignorance, if they don't choose to remove it, then they will not know mam, ajam and avyayam. I am which is unborn and which is avyayam, which is not changing. So now imagine when a wise person talks and it says that you don't need to change the vocabulary. The wise person doesn't need to change the vocabulary and say that this body is going to Bombay tomorrow. You will continue to say what? I'm going. Right? So that means, then you can say, oh, but if you are saying I am going, then who is going? Then the body and mind going, so then you are ignorant. So it's not, this knowledge is not a matter of changing the vocabulary. This ahankara, which is one function of the mind, which is connecting every event related to this body and mind to this I sense, is going to remain. Because it's a function. So you can continue to say I am going to go to Bombay. Then even a non-wise person also says I am going to Bombay. So what is the difference?
The person recognizes that this is not really me.
Excellent. The person recognizes that this I am, that I sense which I have in the mind, is something which is empirical. It's not totally real. But please understand, it's not like one thing is empirical and the other is real. Where there is empirical, there are two parts. One is the form, and the other is the content. The content is unchanging. Form, changing. So one day you can say I am going to Bombay, then you can say from Bombay I will go to Worli. This is a second thought.
And Swamiji said that I feel sad. You feel your emotions, you feel sad,
Yeah.
you feel...
Because see, as I told you, that there is a center in the brain which has program for all the emotions. As I told you, if you totally eliminate fear, what will happen? You will lose your lucidity to just be sensible. You will say, oh yeah, here elephant is coming, elephant is Ishvara, I am Ishvara, let me go and embrace this wild elephant.
This is what Nita did.
Surya took me there. You took me there.
Right? So that means that you have, that will protect. So there you can't eliminate emotions. The only thing that you can understand is emotions come and go, and I am in every emotion there is a part which is that emotion, and then there is equally the presence of awareness, because of which that emotion is possible. And that emotion will change next minute. In the next thought also there is another emotion, and awareness is equally present. Pratibodha viditam matam. Where there is mithya, there exactly there is satyam. Don't look for satyam behind. Behind means you'll never find it. It's just change of drishti. One is variable, the other one is invariable. One is mithya, other one is satyam. One cannot exist without this, the other one is independent of that.
I have a very fundamental question, and you can tell me if it shouldn't be handled now. Now beginning to see, once you are born in human birth, I can see the purpose is realization. But why must this whole drama happen at all? This whole...
So this is how Ishvara is. See, Ishvara is this projection, and within projection, what? The avarana. And avarana and a possibility to remove avarana. So given this, then what? You find yourself in the universe like this.
It just
It is. This is Ishvara. This is what Ishvara is. Why is Ishvara like this? This is how it is.
So
there is no answer to that question. Because, and on one hand you can say this is what the nature of Ishvara is. When somebody teaches you that the earth is a globe, then you don't ask, but why earth is globe? This is how it is. Why? It could also have been square. True. But now it is globe. So that's what it is. Right? This is what Ishvara is. And on one hand there is manifestation, but on the other hand, what?
unmanifest.
Yeah, in fact the whole thing is nothing but intelligence. And that intelligence itself depends upon what? Awareness. So if you look from the standpoint of the awareness, you can ask, where is the creation? The whole thing is only as though. It's like in your dream. You are dreaming the whole world, and what you are dreaming, you're in Paris, and then what? Time, space, buildings, cafes, and you can say what? That, oh my God, why is this whole creation, and I have to go to work, and I have to do this, and And then if somebody begins to show you that everything, the building that you examine, if you go a little further, what will come? Your awareness. Then in that cafe that you go to, you examine a little bit more, what will come? Your awareness. The characters in the dream, if you examine a little bit more, what will it come to? The awareness. Then you said, oh my God, if everything is awareness, and where is awareness? Is it outside? It's everywhere. And while it is everywhere, has it really become the buildings? Has it really become the characters? Has it really become the cafe and the coffee that you are drinking? It is free from all. And still you find yourself in it.
It also makes sense that our projections aren't necessarily different because awareness is one. So the projection of awareness, which is this universe, should also be one. Like I used to wonder, in dreams we can project different things.
Exactly.
But here we can't.
What
So, I always used to think in dream.
Huh.
For example, I can dream up a dream which
Yes.
is very different from, let's say, Prem's dream.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But in this case,
Yeah.
we all share this,
We share this
reality.
Yes.
Because there's one consciousness and therefore there is this one projection of
Excellent.
consciousness.
Absolutely. So we all share this empirical reality. In the dream, it is your pratibhasika, it's your own created reality. Whereas here it is one common. That's why we make a distinction. That's a very good question. That mithya, we make a distinction. One is, I think you have studied this, right? One is pratibhasika and the other is vyavaharika. Mithya we don't treat at the same level. Okay? What is a vyavaharika mithya? Vyavaharika mithya is, this table has empirical reality. You can't say that it is an illusion. Right? It is there, and it is there, and all of us can see this as a table. It's not like dream where you make your own table and I am making my own something else. Right? But in case I am going here itself at night, if you see an object which is what long and tall, long and thin, you may think it is what, and if it is now getting dark, you may think it is what? A snake. But what is it? Could be real snake, in which case it is empirical. right? But suppose if it was rope, and you saw a snake, then what? The snake that you see is also mithya. Why is it a mithya?
It's not.
Because it, what is the definition of mithya?
Its existence is
It's
dependent.
Exactly.
collapsing.
So now, that is one thing. That is one thing, but it depends upon something for its existence. So if there was no rope, will you see a snake? No. So that means the fact that you see a snake, and that depends upon what? Rope for its existence, because unless there was rope, you will not see snake. So it is also mithya, but can you treat it as the same mithya as the table? No. Why? Because this is empirically true, whereas the snake that you see is not empirically true. What is empirically true? The rope. So this is why both are mithya, but they have what? One is empirical and the other one is subjective. Your subjective reality. Pratibhasika. So, here this world is what? Empirical. But within this world, you create your own interpretations, which are what? It's not only in the dream where that Pratibhasika is working. Even in the living world, three people are going through same experience, and you ask them what they are going through. What will happen? Each one will give their own answer of what is happening. So that means we are not totally in touch with the world as it is at any given point in time. There is what? Empirical, and there is Pratibhasika. And this is why world has become very complicated. Because you see your world your way, I see my world my way. And when we two interact with each other, we have our own interpretation of what is happening. And there is no matching ground. This is why we say we need to reduce our subjectivity and come to see more and more what is. Then you can go one step further and begin to see Ishvara and the reality. The first step is to reduce your own created thing, which is giving you all kinds of suffering. So this is, what was your question? That this is an empirical reality, whereas your dream is Pratibhasika.
Empirical reality, which is mithya.
Which is mithya. Both are mithya.
Both are
mithya. So empirical mithya is how we define it is, therefore we see it. This is how you define it. It is, therefore we see it. What is Pratibhasika mithya? I see it, therefore it is. Different.
These things will become really accentuated as VR comes in. Virtual reality comes, that's a total subjective. And then augmented reality, reality where something else is projected, like you see a person who gives details. And then now the new thing is a mixed reality. Mixed reality means there'll be a ball, but you can't see it. You have to go like that, then only you will see it. That's the newest thing. And all these three Vidyas will become heightened.
So world will become more complex.
That'll be easier.
Maybe on one hand we'll try to make it easier, and on the other hand it will become more complex. See, that is always, we feel that, oh yeah, science has made so much this thing and now there are medicines. But every medicine also comes with a side effect. So it increases maybe life, so therefore it's a boon. But it also then what makes you go through certain side effects. So you have a longer life, but you have what? Longer suffering too. So everything is a mixed blessing. But you're right, many things we also make it good for us, and it's lovely, that's good, that's a human prerogative, right? To make all these discoveries, and it's fun to see how far human mind can go. So, this ajam avyayam reality. So now Ishvara is speaking not as what? Now when Ishvara is speaking, when I am speaking, I can say what I am going. So where is the thing?
It's in the physical.
It's in your physical. But
But
what
with the
makes your mind?
understanding
Exactly.
That it is
That
the true I is there, without which I wouldn't be able to do anything.
excellent. Ishvara can also speak from similar two standpoint. One is what? The all knowledge and all power, Sarvajnaha Sarvashaktiman, which is what he has been doing so far. I am all the forms, I am the laws, I am from where all the gunas come, everything. Now he is speaking from what? Its true nature, which is what? Avyayam. Avyayam is what? Changeless. Just as you can speak from two standpoints, one is called upadhi and the other one is called what? The reality. Ishvara can also speak from two standpoints. One is what? The status of Ishvara is what? All knowledge and all power. And the second is what? The awareness, which is changeless. So this is why we, so that means ocean can speak from the standpoint of the ocean and also can speak from the standpoint of water. Wave can also do the same, can speak from the standpoint of the wave or can speak from the standpoint of water. So now, one thing that now that you have a very sophisticated level, I want you to understand a few things which are little technical. Okay? One thing is, when we talk about Ishvara, we are talking about what we say Pravaha Nityatvam. Pravaha Nityatvam is what? What is Ishvara? It is this manifestation, but it is work in progress. Even Ishvara doesn't know how tomorrow is going to be, because today so many people are yet to exercise their free will. Right? And depending upon how they exercise their free will, what tomorrow is going to shape differently.
I always thought that he is not omniscient.
Sorry?
I always thought that he is not omniscient.
No, omniscient, it means all the
because
possibilities.
If you have free will, he can't be omniscient.
So,
that's what you're telling me.
no, because all the possibilities are within Ishvara and the result are also within Ishvara. So that means that omniscient means it's all knowledge within which all possibilities are there. It doesn't mean it's all fixed. There is no fixed. This is why we say all the possibilities, and Ishvara is not confused. Hey, for this action I have not really thought of the result. For every action there is a result which will come. This is what we mean. So this is what we say, that it is Pravaha Nityatva. But when we come to awareness, is it thing in making? No. It is what we call Kutastha Nityatva. Kutastha Nityatva means awareness has never changed and it will never change. This is why it can be fully known. If it is going to change, then I know it today and tomorrow it will change. Then I can never know it fully.
Also, to change, it has to take on attributes, and it cannot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the attributes are within what? For the objects which exist within time and space. Lovely. So this is why, this is what we call Kutastha Nityatva. Even when we look at the Upadana Karanam, which is the material cause, we talk about one as Parinami Upadana Karanam, Ishvara is Parinami Upadana Karanam, and awareness is Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Similar idea. Upadana Karanam means material cause. One material cause, which is what Ishvara as the entire universe, is what constantly undergoing change. If you say Ishvara is manifest universe, the manifestation which was yesterday is not today. So it's constantly changing. It's in flux. Parinami. Parinami means it undergoes change. The material cause which is constantly undergoing change. Your body is aging, everything is under change.
It's manifest and unmanifest.
Yeah, manifest and unmanifest. So it is called Parinami Upadana Karana. But awareness is what Vivarta Upadana Karana. It is always in and through everything, but it is changeless. This is why, just as when I say that you touch any given wave, you touch all three, which is what? The wave, the ocean and the water. Here also, when you touch any given form, you are touching the form, the jiva. You are also touching what? Ishvara, because Ishvara is that intelligence which is making this form what it is. And you are also what? The awareness. Because awareness can never be outside here. You are touching the awareness. What is available to your eye is what? The form. What the other two are what? As the self-evident. They are given to you, but not as an object, as self-evident. The awareness is given to you as self-evident, and Ishvara's knowledge is given to you through this pramana. So this is how the world is designed. So now the next, he explains that the Ishvara Upadhi a little bit more. Here he says, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. So here he says that in fact, so this sarvadhyatvam of Ishvara, what it means Veda aham samatitani vartamanani charjuna. So that means whatever has happened in the past, for how many cycles of creation, that is what within Sarvadhyat Ishvara. No information is lost, so that means our present existence today is connected to extinction of dinosaurs. And everything has to. So that means there are these causes within causes within causes. The connections that are there is not just a result. That's why Ishvara cannot have a mind. Because mind can only do what? Limited. Even though it has huge capacity, it cannot hold all this. I don't even know all the events of the past, let alone to put them all together to understand everything. So, all the past is known. What is the present? And the possibilities that exist in the present is also known. The future is known not in the sense that it is deterministic. It's not like I know exactly how Rashna is going to collapse her choice. And I know how that's not how it is. But the way it is that you can only choose between the range that is given to you. You can't choose outside the range. You can't say, let me start flying. Today I see this bird, I see these beautiful peacocks, they are flying, so I also want to fly. You can't do that. right? And so within that, the range is decided by whom? The Ishvara. And once you collapse that possibility within that range, Ishvara is not confused. Now what? I didn't really think of that result for this choice that he has made. No. And the choice that you have made and how it affects everybody else is also is computed into it. So in that sense, you can say, future is also within me. Future is not outside Ishvara. You can't trick Ishvara out. This is what we think, that we human beings are so clever that we can trick Ishvara out. And there's no way. We think we are great, one little collision and we are all gone. One little tsunami, everything destroyed. We think what Ishvara will be afraid of our discoveries. What kind of mind is this? Haven't understood a bit of Ishvara. Right? So therefore, everything is within this possibility. So future is also within the possibility of Ishvara. But mam tu vedana kaschana. Whereas, one thing which is very important, that can any jiva know Ishvara in its totality as not as awareness but as sarvajnaha sarvashaktiman. Means all the details of everything. Does the wise person know all the details of everything? Huh? Nobody will know the details. Right? So that means neither a wise person will know all the details of Ishvara. Mam tu vedana kaschana. And this is why anybody who tries to, the first thing, people are very fascinated by this karma. And karma means people want to know all the details of karma. That there is past, so who was I with and what happened and all this, and it is endless. And there are people who pretend to know it all. And they'll tell you that, you may have, you may have met him here and there and I don't know what. Some stories they tell, and they sound fascinating stories because we don't know any better. But the reality is, in Bhagavad Gita it says, Gahana Karmano Gatihi. Too many computations is not possible for any human being to know in detail. That's why what is necessary for us to know is what? Not to know all the details, you'll get confused. Imagine, in this life, you not only had information about who of course you have information about who your parents are, who your kids are, but you had information about, in last 25 lives, who were your parents, who were your kids, who was your husband. What will happen? And you can't live. Because you have this life husband and then you'll meet your previous life husband. What will happen?
25
and then all your 25 lives.
Not 30.
So that means we think, having some knowledge is some beautiful thing. Hey, Ishvara has just given you exactly what you need. You don't need, in fact it will create more confusion. Since this lifetime story itself is difficult to digest. If you had 24-hour lifetimes and the events that you had to go through to digest, what will happen? You won't be able to live. So don't try to search for more information.
But when you listen to tales of Mahabharata and all, they very often when something happens to someone, they explain that, in past life you did this and that's why this is happening to you.
The purpose of that is, it's very true, the purpose of that is anything that happens to you as a cause, that is very important to know. That information, so that even if you don't know, the story tells you all the events, but they only, what is the purpose of that story? That in past, remote past, something that you do will have repercussions.
So it's illustrating this
It
point.
is illustrating the point. And what you need to know is this point, that anything that happens to me, the world is not to be blamed. I can't conclude Ishvara doesn't exist because this has happened to me. Where is the justice? These conclusions. So these are all, once you become a Vedanta teacher, some questions everybody will ask. Why is somebody born with blind? Everybody will ask what that person has done. Everybody will ask these questions. So there, you just have to, it's not that you condemn that person, but for everything there is a cause. If you use that data to conclude that things are unfair, then it only wants you to what? Correct that. Because we have very partial data, and with that partial data we make huge conclusions, and we think that those conclusions are all very valid. So only that it makes you see. This is the purpose of these stories. But the reality is nobody can know everything, and nobody needs to know everything also. This is why anybody who thinks that, for a lot of people, spirituality is connected to powers. Because what do they think? Ishvara is all knowledge. So the wise person will also have what? All knowledge. So they all flock to person who can do a little bit more than what others can do. Those people become like very famous because others cannot do certain things and they can do it. But whoever can do little bit, what they can do is what? Little more than the normal human range. When they can do something little more than the human range, they are not wise people. These are all people can learn. All these in the yoga, there are all these siddhis which are talked about, where you can actually practice. It's like every day you practice your dance, you'll become a pro. And you can do more with your body than I can. Similarly, for those siddhis, there are some practices, and if you practice every day, then you get those. It's a very simple thing. It is nothing to do with your wisdom and all. But because that person can do something little extraordinary, what? You can see it. It's very tangible. Then people flock to that person. And in their mind, what happens? That person becomes a god. Because he can do something more, and Ishvara is Sarvajna, and this person can do little bit more, so therefore is Ishvara. That person becomes Ishvara. This is where you have to put all these chase for power, acquiring powers and all. The whole of spiritual world is all about that. Somebody claims to have power for your aura cleansing. Somebody has some power to cleanse your whole home from some negative energy. All of spiritual world is like that. All power based. Some are maybe real and some are imaginary powers. You don't even know if this power really exists or not. So there, this power is something which is just a matter of practice. anything that you practice every day you can acquire. There are some practices which will give you more than your range power. But that by no means makes you Ishvara. Ask any human being who claims to have all this power and Bhagwan, you stop tsunami, go. You stop wars. Impossible. Right? So this power is something that even if you have little out of range power, it is nothing compared to what is all power Ishvara, which has brought about the manifestation, which is going to sustain and it is going to dissolve for cycles of creation, manifestation. So that way, what when Ishvara, when we are talking about Sarvajnatvam, it's a different level altogether. We are not talking about, so Bhavishya, Bhuta and Vartamana. Everything is within Ishvara. Now, the next verse we will see tomorrow. So now how many verses we have done?
26.
Yes, 4 are there.
So 4 I will easily finish tomorrow. So Rashna was worried.
Yeah,
I
I
won't
don't mind. I said, doesn't matter even if I don't hear till the end.
No, I will finish in the next class. If you don't mind, I will do for like 1.5 hours and I will finish it off. Then what I would like is, okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.